final snapshot of success. We are going to, it's number 6, and we're going to talk about the F word. Now, I know that the F word is on everyone's minds, and when we're out there in the breaks, it's in the conversation as well. It looms large in your lives, and that is funding. I can hear a sigh of relief from Grant Aldridge. That was what I said. So funding. Well, Switched On is a Tauranga-based disability provider, and their session is focused on making money and diversifying income with the skills you have. So please welcome, from the appropriately named Switched On, General Manager Richard Coad.
Hi everyone. I think my sigh of relief might have been a little bit louder. Thanks so much for the opportunity to tell you about the great work that we've been doing. My name's Richard Coad. I'm the General Manager of Switched On, and we were established in July of 2013. Although that's our official start date, we've been around for longer than that, and today I'm here to share our journey with you that the team and I have been on to become Switched On. So if we go back 23 years to 1991 and the establishment of a service provider called Supported Living Limited, Supported Living rebranded in 2001 and we became Silk Limited. So for those of you who have heard of Silk, I'm just going to refer to us as Silk for the entire time now. Silk supports people with a range of health conditions, predominantly intellectual and physical disabilities. And from day one, Silk's always believed that people who have a disability have a right to be supported by staff who are knowledgeable and that understand the importance of individualised and holistic support. And this is so important to Silk that it's included in the mission statement, but to achieve this requires training. Since 1991 and through to this day, every new employee of Silk attends training provided by Silk and has had the options of ongoing training throughout their time with Silk. A career pathway is built by achieving training milestones. So 1991, sometime after that, there were no formal qualifications that staff could achieve, so we developed our own internal training. We made our own resources. We were passionate about our support staff understanding the relationship between organisational philosophy and their day-to-day roles, and we wanted them to implement this philosophy in everything they did, every time they were on shift. When nationally recognised qualifications were introduced, we welcomed these, not just as an opportunity for Silk staff to gain well-deserved qualifications, but also as a means to professionalise the entire industry, to advance support work as a skilled profession. We believe that is how it should be recognised. Silk believes that the trainee and the person with a disability both benefit as a result of ongoing training. So we built a framework for our own internal training that we've developed over many, many years, sat alongside the new national qualifications so that they complemented each other. And this is the training that employees still receive, or receive now. To speak a bit about the training team, once again, as an organisation, Silk also adhere to a belief that trainers must be knowledgeable in all areas of support. The Silk training team was handpicked for their breadth of experience and their ability to communicate these experiences in a way that others could understand and learn from. It didn't stop there either, because no trainer was ever just a trainer. We never spent all our time in the classroom. By this time, Silk had grown considerably. If I'm talking about around 2007, we were supporting well over 100 people. We were employing over 100 people. This is a service provider whose initial aim is to support maybe a maximum of 25. Around that time, as a service manager, I became aware of initiatives going to eventually contribute towards the creation of Switched On. And it was that to ensure people's holistic needs were being met, And Silk understood the importance of good working relationships with external providers such as occupational therapists, physiotherapists, seating therapists. In 2007, I identified that the liaison between external providers and Silk could be improved. Up until that point, external providers had worked directly with teams with no way of knowing whether the information they provided was being captured in a way that that ensured sustainability, that everyone received the necessary training and changes were made, and that follow-up when necessary was occurring. In fact, at that particular time, people were just sort of turning up at the door, and it wasn't successful for anyone. So in conjunction with sort of noticing that, external providers were making recommendations based on their knowledge of therapy, but had no knowledge of the individual they were working with. So knowing this, Silk began to look for a team that would work alongside external providers to ensure that optimum results were gained. And I can give you an example of this. Someone we supported who food was very, very important to him. And the suggestion was, because they believed that his quads needed to be built up, that every time he sat down for a meal, he should practice sit to stands, they were called. So he would sit down for a meal, and just as he sat down, he'd go, "Stand up." And he'd look very confused. And he would say, "Sit down," and he'd sit down his meal, go, "Stand up." The intent was good. The practice wasn't. This is also a person who, the suggestion was to help with balance that he should walk on a mattress placed in the living room floor. We asked if he could go for a walk on the beach, would it achieve the same thing? To ensure that people's holistic needs are being met, Silk understood the importance of good working relationships with people, with external providers. So I moved into the training team on a full-time basis and set up a referral service. Any external provider, such as an OT or a physiotherapist or a seating therapist, anyone who wanted to visit someone we supported in their home made an appointment, and we coordinated the visit. They made the appointment with us. We attended the visit and we recorded the outcomes. And if the outcomes were for Silk staff to change the way they supported someone, we would ensure that the training was provided and the change was made in a way that was sustainable. If the person had some responsibilities, if the person visiting had some responsibilities as a result of that meeting, we'd record those too and ensure that those were being followed up. Consequently, we began to get some really, really good results that suited people's wants and needs. We also developed a great network of contacts by working with so many health professionals in the community. And our job was to ensure this was all happening, and we did it really well, and we really truly believed in what we were doing. In many ways, this was an extension of the training that we'd already provided. In this case, rather than working in a more formal classroom environment, the training team worked with individuals and teams to ensure that any therapy or equipment provided met the holistic needs of the individual it was for. To achieve this, the team set itself some guidelines to work by. The training team believed that any therapy should fit a person's life rather than that person having to reshape their lives around the therapy. Equipment must match the current holistic needs of a person. This means a person's current skills and abilities are considered first and foremost, and equipment that matches these skills is recommended. This practice is to ensure that people aren't disempowered by a mismatch between current needs and the equipment. Instead, they are able to maintain as much independence as possible all the time. Just for example, a person who's able to stand and transfer with some assistance shouldn't receive a full hoist, which removes the need for standing. Any equipment introduced should be enabling, not disabling. The team also maintained a strong belief that training staff should not interfere or compromise a person's life. This means that staff are trained at times any piece of equipment would naturally be used. For example, training staff to support the person to get out of bed should occur when the person wishes to get up. This minimises the intrusion that training can have when not managed well. This includes making appointments with external providers. At those appointment times should make use of those natural opportunities for when that particular activity is happening. In 2010, the training team increased its role by employing a registered occupational therapist, and this allowed the team to increase its responsiveness to people's needs by being able to apply directly for equipment rather than being fully dependent on external providers to make the applications. As well, early in 2013, we included another new person in the team, and she was Silk's wellness coordinator and worked, as we all did, with the people that Silk supported and Silk staff. Our wellness coordinator specialised in therapeutic massage, shiatsu, exercise and nutrition, homeobotanical with alternative health options. With this addition, we now had the ability to work in a truly holistic way with people and could cater for virtually any situation a person encountered. We had a trainer who specialised in overcoming barriers and obstacles in the community so people were able to attend the activities they wanted. We had trainers who could work in a classroom or go to someone's home and work with a team or an individual team member to solve any issues. We had trainers who were excellent advocates and could work with the people we supported to ensure they were getting the most suitable equipment from external providers. And in reality, it sounds like we've got dozens and dozens of trainers. There were 5 of us. Throughout this time, we had always worked within Silk. The only recipients of the services that we provided were the people Silk supported. And at that time, Silk had always received funding from the Ministry of Health, and this was the sole income stream. So in January of 2013, the Silk Charitable Trust strategic plan identified dependence on a single income as a risk to the organisation. Consequently, they directed Silk to diversify services, diversify income streams, and generate revenue. This revenue would be returned to the Silk Charitable Trust. So we were looking at creating a social enterprise. That was a name I've never heard of before. We cast our eye around to see how this was going to be done, and we came up with several ideas, but the idea that seemed the most obvious and the most logical to achieve at the time was for the training team to become a separate entity, still governed by the Silk Charitable Trust. We were going to become our own business, and this was going to take a lot to wrap our heads around. I should mention around here that when Silk started in 1991, we were involved in supporting people to move from Tokanui Hospital into the community. So people with disabilities, especially significant disability, living in the community was still a new concept in New Zealand. So all our emphasis went into supporting people. We thought that as a service provider, it wasn't about Silk getting Silk's name out there. It was all about the people. And we maintained that stance until 2013. Now, consequently, we ended up unwittingly flying completely under the radar for many years, and outside of disability circles, no one really knew who we were or what we did. So it's pretty hard to sell a secret. So as the manager of the training team at the time, I had several challenges. We had to have a purpose that sat alongside wider organisation values, mission and philosophy. We had to set up the infrastructure for a new organisation, including policies, procedures, processes, computer systems, accounts, pricing, invoicing systems, customer relationship management. I've never heard of CRMs until, health and safety systems, insurance, developing websites, registering a company, getting charitable status. It just goes on and on and on. We had to rebrand and market ourselves. And I remember sitting in the chief executive's office at one point and saying to her, I've spent 20 years in disability and you want to know what marketing and branding experience I've got now. I can tell you, no. Our challenge was to get our name out there, let people know who we were, who we are. I had to lead a team that was passionate about the work they did and extremely loyal to Silk Limited. I had to lead them to leave Silk. They had to become a new and separate organisation. In this case, there were 3 of us approaching our 20th year of working for Silk Limited at the time. This wasn't going to be an easy shift. So how do we do this? I hear you all say.
How'd you do it?
Yeah. Thanks, Rob. Well, we developed a 3-year strategic plan. We worked it. We're still working it. First of all, we already had a really good framework of values and how these values were reflected in our day-to-day activities. We had been using those values for a number of years already. During strategic planning, we developed our purpose to assist people who have experienced a life-changing event to maintain their independence at home and in their community. It was important to all of us that we had a say in the purpose, as that provided everyone's commitment to that purpose. So regarding infrastructure, while we build up our own business, Silk are committed to purchasing our services, so we have a guaranteed income stream while we are building up our own income stream. To set up the infrastructure, we didn't need to reinvent the wheel in every case. Silk Limited had 20 years of infrastructure, and much of this we were able to replicate with not too much of an effort. Silk Limited was also working on a strategic plan, and part of this led to the creation of the Silk Charitable Trust business team. The business team did a lot of the legwork for us by creating systems and databases. We spent hours talking about what we needed and what that could look like, and then the business team would do the research, make suggestions, put it together for us. And without them, we'd probably still be in the planning stages. Our experience in marketing, you may have guessed this, was sadly lacking. We had settled on the name Switched On. We were called Switched On because too often when people experience a health condition that limits their mobility, their capability or their capacity, there's almost an expectation that they'll switch off. They won't be as active, there'll be fewer expectations from them. They'll spend more time at home. I'm actually starting to wonder sometimes if you have to commit a crime to be put on home detention, or whether you just have to experience poor health. We don't support this notion. We want people to remain switched on. I'm digressing. Back to marketing. Remember, we'd spent, by this time, 22 years actively flying under the radar. The issue was solved in a way that was quite inventive. The support we received from the Silk Charitable Trust was excellent. They were interested, they were informed, and they wanted us to do well, and they were aware of our deficit of knowledge and experience of marketing. So I was one of the directors of Switched On. The trust supplied us with a trustee who became the other director of Switched On. This person had a huge amount of experience in marketing and branding. He donated his time to us and guided us through the many traps and pitfalls in the marketing and branding world. We have a branding policy. We've got a uniform. We have a logo and a badge, and we have a range of promotional material that all fit our branding criteria. And with pamphlets in hand, we're off to conquer the world now. Right now, we've still got a lot to learn, but we're given sound advice and we're guided as we go. The last and the most challenging part of breaking away from Silk was looking after the hearts and minds of the team. From the head point of view, we all understood why becoming a separate entity was good. We could see how overall this was a plan that would carry the Silk Charitable Trust and all its entities way into the future. It made sense, it was sustainable. Also from the head point of view, the team was aware that they could potentially lose benefits they had gained while working with Silk, such as long service entitlements. There was also the question around, so what if this doesn't work? What if it all falls over? Why would we give up our safe positions to risk losing our jobs in a business venture that may not succeed? The answer to that question was provided by the Trust, telling each of the team that should Switched On not succeed, that their jobs would be reabsorbed back into Silk. The Trust also gave us targets to meet which were manageable, and a 3-year plan of targets to build our business within, so we don't have to be instantly sustainable. With the head questions answered, the team were a lot more comfortable with it. It's still the matter of heart, and this was just as important to satisfy. I remember the moment I realised I was going to be leaving the organisation I'd worked for 20 years to start a new business. I was back in the Chief Executive's office. We'd been talking about Switched On, and it just dawned on me. I said, I'm going to have to leave Silk. I cried. The realisation was a shock. It was my head had known for ages. My heart had only just got the news. Like all good chief executives, there was an open box of tissues. And ear to listen to. Yeah. She didn't try to soften the blow. She just helped me work through it. Until when I left her office, I was ready to step out there and be the general manager of Switched On, and now I have to do the same for my team. There's no trick to how we manage this with the team. We talked. Every question they had was answered. It couldn't be answered immediately, it was discussed for longer, and any issues were solved. We didn't just talk about facts, we talked about feelings. We also We asked the team to develop a strategic plan so we knew where we were going. But it also meant it was our plan. We shared ownership in the direction we were travelling. We had buy-in. Also, the support we received from all of Silk Limited and Silk Charitable Trust during this time was amazing. They worked for us because they wanted us to be successful just as much as we wanted to be successful. It worked. We launched on 1st of July 2014. Since July 1st, sorry, we have provided excellent training in a range of subjects to other health and disability providers. We have a great relationship with Career Force. We take time to design training packages that fit other organisations' philosophy, mission, values, policies. We customise training to any organisational needs. On top of that, we work with individuals in the community who have experienced a life-changing event to ensure that they have the equipment they need to live quality lives, the information that they need to be able to live quality lives. We offer the same training to families and individuals as we've provided to support staff since 1991, so people are able to live at home for longer and live the lives they choose without any disabling condition becoming the ruler of their lives. We teach families how to lift, how to transfer, how to support, and most of all, how to see the value their family member still has even after things have changed. We've worked in prisons, we've worked with students, we've assisted people to gain national qualifications regularly for the very first time in their lives, and most of all, we teach everyone and anyone, you've got to stay switched on. Thank you very much.